The removal of technical barriers in music and the promise of AI. One way to understand the history of music is its gradual removal of technical barriers between a musical idea and its audible realization. What we often call musical progress is not only the development of new styles, but also the development of tools that make it easier to translate musical thought into sound. In this sense, the history of music can be seen as the progressive shortening of the distance between conception and expression. At the very beginning, music was primarily vocal. The human voice was the first instrument. Yet singing itself already constitutes a technical barrier. Not everyone can sing well. Some people simply do not possess the biological capacity for it. Their vocal cords may not allow stable pitch, or their timbre may remain unpleasant regardless of training. In that sense, vocal music imposes a restriction on who can meaningfully express musical ideas. The development of instruments, therefore, represents an early removal of this barrier. Instruments externalize musical skill into technology. Instead of relying entirely on the body, musical production becomes mediated through objects designed to make certain musical actions easier, more precise, and more reliable. Even within instrumental music, we can observe successive reductions of technical constraints. A monophonic instrument, such as the flute, can produce only one pitch at a time. If one wishes to create complex polyphonic music with such instruments, multiple performers must coordinate with one another. This introduces a new difficulty, ensemble coordination. Polyphonic instruments such as the guitar or the piano remove this barrier by allowing a single performer to produce multiple notes simultaneously. Harmony and melody can now exist within one performance. Importantly, such developments do not merely remove obstacles, they also generate new musical possibilities. Chordal textures, accompaniments, patterns, and complex harmonic structures become far easier to realize. Technological progress in music is therefore not merely subtractive but generative. Each removal of a barrier simultaneously opens up a new expressive space. The tool does not simply make existing music easier to perform, it expands what can be imagined musically. This pattern continues throughout modern musical history. Recording technology removed the needs for physical presence in musical dissemination. Digital production environments allowed a single individual to simulate an entire recording studio. MIDI sequencing allowed composers to sketch orchestral ideas without requiring an orchestra. Artificial intelligence appears to continue this trajectory. One of the remaining barriers is in the contemporary music lies in the technical complexity of production. Many musicians possess strong musical ideas but lack the engineering expertise required to realize them professionally. Mixing, mastering, orchestration, and sound design demand skill that are often separate from the act of composition itself. Historically, this gap was filled by producers. A well-known example is the collaboration between Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones. Jackson did not personally execute every technical aspect of his recordings. Instead, he communicated musical ideas and aesthetic intentions which were translated into finished sound by the producer. The producer functioned as an intermediary between conception and realization. Artificial intelligence may partially automate this intermediary role. A composer could describe instrumentation, articulation, and sonic character, while the system performs the technical work of rendering the music. For instance, a composer might provide a melody, harmonic structure, or even a piece of notation and ask the system to perform it convincingly with realistic instruments, far beyond the mechanical quality of traditional MIDI playback. This development connects to an idea proposed by the composer Arnold Schoenberg. Schoenberg argued that the true essence of a musical work lies in its structural conception, which is captured in notation. For a sufficiently trained musician, the score itself could already provide a musical experience. One could read the notation and internally hear the music without needing a performance. Artificial intelligence may push this principle even further. In Schoenberg's time, the most abstract representation of a musical work was still the written score. Musical ideas had to be translated into notation before they could be realized. Today, however, it is conceivable that even this step could be bypassed. If a composer can articulate a musical idea clearly in language or structured instructions that an AI can understand, an AI may be able to translate that description directly into sound. In this sense, the abstraction of music becomes even more radical. The most abstract form of the musical work may no longer be notation, but the articulated idea itself. A composer whose primary skill lies in conceiving and describing musical structures could potentially realize those ideas without the intermediary step of formal notation. However, each level of abstraction introduces new complications. When music is realized through performance, performers inevitably introduce interpretive variables that the composer may not have specified explicitly. In classical music, many such elements developed through oral tradition. Certain phrasing practices or expressive gestures became associated with particular works even though they were not fully encoded in the score. Some composers attempted to counteract this process. For instance, Igor Stravinsky made efforts to record his own interpretations using the gramophone in order to document how he believed his work should actually sound. Artificial intelligence introduces a new version of this problem. Most AI systems do not stop producing output when instructions are incomplete. If given insufficient input, they will still produce a result by filling in missing details. This creates a potential risk. The system may introduce musical decisions that the composer never intended. For this reason, working with AI may require an unusually high level of precision. Unlike a human collaborator, an AI cannot easily recognize when essential information is missing or ask clarifying questions. Ideally, future systems should either pause when instructions are insufficient or be designed with careful, calibrated biases that fill in missing information in musically sensible ways. Yet the role of AI in music may not simply consist in removing barriers between idea and realization. There may also emerge a new layer of musical practice in which AI-generated sounds are combined with human performance and traditional instruments. Just as vocal music has often been accompanied by instruments, and it didn't disappear with the removal of abstraction by the instrument, combining two different levels of musical mediation, AI-generated sound could become another layer within a broader musical texture. In such a scenario, the highest level of artistic skill would not lie in producing music entirely through AI, but in combining AI-generated and non-AI-generated elements in creative ways. A composition might integrate AI-generated texture with human vocal performance, acoustic instruments, or other non-AI sonic materials. This suggests an important point. The goal of technological development is not to eliminate skill altogether. Rather, unnecessary forms of skill tend to disappear while new forms of skill emerge at the frontier of technological possibility. A useful analogy can be drawn from agriculture. The most talented farmer of the 19th century might have been someone capable of plowing a field extremely quickly by hand. With the invention of the tractor, however, that particular talent became obsolete. Yet new forms of skill emerged: the engineering skill required to build the tractor and the operational skill required to use it effectively. The same dynamic may occur in music. Certain traditional production skills may become less relevant as AI automates them. However, new forms of artistic expertise may arise in the ability to integrate AI-generated material with human performance and acoustic sound in a way that produce results greater than the sum of their parts and that are not totally realizable by AI alone. In this sense, the creative frontier shifts rather than disappears. The most interesting musical achievements may come not from using AI alone, but from exploring the boundary between AI-generated and human-generated sound. At that boundary, artists can reveal both the possibilities and the limits of current technology. Seen in this light, artificial intelligence does not eliminate human creativity. Instead, it may open a new domain in which creativity operates at a higher conceptual level, where musical ideas, technological systems, and human performance interact to create forms of expression that were previously impossible.